This bonus episode itself with Tina Knowles, it was a bit of a departure from earlier episodes in that it had a lot more showbiz flair to it. Of course, it's Beyonce's mum. Do we think that this is what we're going to see more of moving forward with Meghan's podcast, or do you think that this was just going out with a bang?
I think that's what Lemonade will be hoping for if there's a second series. And of course, we don't know yet whether there is going to be a second series. But this was a bonus episode. The series had come to an end, and then we got this announcement that there was going to be this extra episode featuring, what did she call her? The mom...
The matriarch.
The matriarch and the mom mogul,
yeah.
I think she called Tina Knowles. And she made it very clear that Tina Knowles had picked up the phone to her.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes, I picked up on that.
Yes,
yeah.
And that you don't turn down a call like that. You pick up the phone and then you do this episode. Actually, I thought this was one of the most interesting episodes in the series because Tina Knowles has a really, really interesting story to tell about launching her own hair care business, about going into business with her daughter Beyonce, about managing family businesses and the disagreements that come along the way. And as I was listening to that, I was thinking, ooh, the family firm and disagreements. And there was one particular line that stood out for me when Tina said, you know, of course we disagree as family, and when we're in business together and we're working together, there will be disagreements, but I don't let them kind of sit. I can't. I pick up the phone and I make up because I don't want to miss that time. And I thought, oh, wow, okay. Because, you know, you're talking to someone who is no longer speaking to her father and whose husband is no longer speaking to his father, and a lot of time is passing.
It really stood out because she used the phrase wasted time, and Meghan agreed and said, yes, it's wasted time.
Yes.
And at the end of that sentence, you think, surely, as exactly as you've said, it felt pointed. Surely she had that reflection of, well, there's a lot of people around in our lives.
The thing about Tina Knowles is, you know, she's a very, very successful businesswoman, but it's her background, you know, coming up in, you know, in Texas when she was very young, where there was segregation and everything else. I mean, it is really fascinating story, and I'm hoping to get hold of the book that she's just done. And I think it was I don't know who rang who, whether it was Tina rang Meghan or Meghan rang Tina or whatever. Whoever it was, that was a very, very smart move to get someone like her on that podcast. You know, to talk about a whole a variety of subjects. And I agree with Sarah. You know, that put down of, you know, I never let, you know, you've got to not have arguments within the family and everything else. I mean, that is a great put down. I bet she forgets that bit.
And I'm glad you touched on it then, because there have been reports previously that Meghan had struggled to get, you know, A-list names on her show and on the podcast. How important for her brand, Meghan moving forward and away from the royal connection, how important is it for her to get those names involved in what she's doing?
I think it's very, very important. I mean, when you look at a company in the UK called Warburton's, which makes bread, and they've had Samuel L. Jackson, Robert De Niro, you know, advertising their bread. Now, that is a lot of money. Now, she needs to get hold of A-list, really triple A-list celebrities on those podcasts to help sell that stuff that she's making.
And also people who want to be involved in their own right, not just because they're friends in Montecito with Meghan, because that has been my slight bugbear with this podcast. Sometimes you feel a bit excluded from the conversation as a listener, because there's an awful lot of gushing chat, there's a lot of praising of each other, there's a lot of talk about people that we don't know. In this episode, they were talking about, I think it was Yvette, who I think is Beyonce's PR or manager. They were talking about Tyler, well, that's Tyler Perry, who, of course, helped Meghan and Harry and gave them a house when they first moved to California. But there's a lot of conversations about people they know and we don't know. And there's a lot of kind of matiness going on. I'd really love to see some of these guests being booked because they want to be a part of Meghan's podcast, because they believe in that brand, not just because they're trying to do each other favours.
I'd also like to see us bring in the celebrities that she doesn't actually know.
Yes.
You can have a conversation with, you know, okay, she's never going to be a Graham Norton, but you know, I'd like her to have a conversation with people, a normal conversation without mentioning Tyler and, Yvette and all this sort of stuff.
It's her getting to know them at the same time as us, the listener. And
we did see a little bit of that in With Love Meghan, didn't we? When sometimes she brought in, I can't remember which one of the chefs it was, and she said, we've never met before, but we kind of connected on social media.
I think it was in the later part of the season.
Yeah, and we saw her learning from him. And actually those episodes were the stronger ones, where you really see those first conversations and a more natural interview than that kind of matiness.
And now that the podcast season is wrapped up, I believe, surely, I think that's it now. What did we make of it? What's our review of the first season of Confessions of a Female Founder?
I mean, I thought the last one was the best, without a shadow of a doubt. The rest of it, for me, was so-so. It didn't grab me at all. It's just Meghan sort of being gushing about everything and everyone, and trying to sell jam and honey.
I'm hearing a 1 star out of 5.
if it's that high.
Okay.
I thought this was a big improvement on archetypes. I didn't feel quite so preached to as I did in the Archetypes series. I thought some of the conversations were really interesting because the guests had interesting stories to tell. And Meghan is at her best when she lets her guest tell their story and when she really listens and learns, because that is what this whole concept is about. Confessions of a Female Founder, learning the lessons from those who've gone before. And so I think if there's to be another series, more of that, more of those really interesting stories. And of course, we, as royal commentators, are listening out for all the nuggets about royal life. They're really interesting, but that isn't what this podcast is ultimately about if Meghan wants to be taken seriously as a businesswoman.
And before we move on, actually, from the podcast, one other little thing I picked up on that we need to keep an eye on is she mentioned the possibility of going into business with Lilibet in the future.
God.
Do we think we'll see that?
Well, we're a long way off, aren't we? Because little Lilibet is only 4 years old. But she talks about Tina and Beyonce going into business with their hair care range at Sacred, and she asked for advice about, what would you suggest if someone was to go into business with a family member or a daughter? I'd love to think about Lily and I being in business one day. I mean, who knows whether Lily will be taking on the jams and honeys and the floral sprinkles in the future.
Maybe.
I don't see a problem with it sometime in the future if that's the way she wants to go. I mean, because Lilibet's never going to be on the royal treadmill as such, well, as far as we know. So she's never going to be involved in doing royal duties like George, Charlotte, and Louis will eventually when they become of age. So I don't see any great problem in her setting up a business with Lilibet, but it's going to take at least another 16 odd years before it gets anywhere close to it.
Watch this space though. And speaking of, as you've mentioned, she's just turned 4 today actually, so a big happy birthday to Lilibet. And Meghan marked the occasion by posting 2 quite intimate pictures, and one of which is almost Lilibet's whole face, which we haven't seen in years. This is quite a departure from their previous attitude towards sharing pictures of the kids. What do we think? I
like your definition of almost the full face. I mean, I'm dubbing Lilibet the jigsaw girl because over the 4 years, all we've seen is an ankle, an arm, a bit of a nose, maybe a forehead. I didn't think it was a great picture, to be perfect. I was much more interested in the picture that she released today of Lilibet when she was barely born.
Yeah.
And I thought that was a really nice picture, and I thought it came across very well in black and white. The other one, with her arms all over her face practically and everything else, didn't do anything for me. I'm all for them protecting their children. I've got no problems with that as well. But, this sort of half bits of the child, it doesn't do anything for me.